So actually one of the great tools, and if you really enjoy wine, you drink wine on a daily basis, is the proper stemware. And up until really about 25 years ago, it was something that, people just used, something that was given to them for their wedding or what somebody called a wine glass. And I'd like to pay honor to a company by the name of Riedel. And when I worked with Mondavi, they opened Mr. Mondavi's eyes, and Mr. Mondavi, along with George Riedel, and I was able to work on these projects, was to go out and do seminars on different stemware, and they changed the world in terms of using a certain type of glass or crystal, certain shape, size, totally changes the way humans perceive flavor. And this is true not only of wine, but it's true with coffee, it's true with food. And so I want to just real quickly kind of just scratch the surface with two of actually my favorite glasses, the glasses that we use at home. Because the other side of it is they make many glasses, and I'm sure they all have their purpose, but you can really get much greater enjoyment, not only in expensive wines, but even just beautiful everyday wines. These are great tools to have. The general principle of tasting is that where you smell 10,000 different things, you only taste 4. You taste 3 things in wine. So there's sweet, sour, bitter, salt, and we're going to rule salt out since that's not in wine. But if this is the human tongue, most of the fruity, sweet perceptors are on the tip, acidity is on the side, and bitterness is in the back. And the reason this is important is what George Riedel discovered is wherever the wine hits first on your palate, that sensation is enhanced. So it actually makes it seem more dominant than it is. So if you could take a wine and direct it to the tip of the tongue where you perceive fruitiness and sweetness first, the wine would seem fruitier or sweeter than it is. Sides of the tongue, more acidic, fresher. And so how this plays into things is that if you've never had wine before, you've had a million glasses of wine, the glass is actually engineered to deliver wine to that particular part of the palate. So in winemaking, a grape variety like Chardonnay, we're very careful to plant it in cooler areas and to use winemaking techniques not to lose too much of acidity, because acidity is something you want, the freshness in the wine. Well, another tool for that is actually a glass that's actually engineered for that. And a glass would be something like this. For Pinot Noir, which is kind of the reverse, Pinot tends to be grown in cooler areas. It's a higher acid variety. We want to diminish the acidity a little bit. So how this comes into play is that if we had a Chardonnay and we put it in this glass, because of the size of opening and the angle, would actually force your tongue to come underneath the glass. So as the wine came out, it would skip the tip of the tongue, hit the middle, fall off the sides, and the first impression you'd have is acidity. So that acidity would be artificially enhanced to make the wine seem fresher and prettier than it is. With Pinot Noir, it's a little bit different. We all know the Pinot balloon. And this glass is magic because if you look at the size of the opening of these two, what a difference. And so the size of the opening and the angle do 2 things. The first thing that it does is the size of the opening. When you put this up to your palate, it forces your tongue to work like a dam. So as the wine comes back and begins to kind of just make contact with the tip of the tongue, once again, you perceive fruitiness and sweetness. So it makes the fruitiness of the wine much more intense, much more dramatic. But also, as you tilt your head backwards, the farther back you tilt, the slower you go. So the more time that wine has on the tip of your tongue. And once again, that enhances the fruitiness, but it also kind of diminishes the perception of acidity in a high acid wine. So what I'd like to do is take a little bit of Pinot Noir and show you this. So this is Pinot Noir. Once again, a high acid variety, very perfumey. And the glasses do many other things. One is surface area. You'll see much greater surface area. Pinot Noir is very much an aromatic grape, so the greater the surface area, the greater rate of evaporation, the more perfume you can pick up in your olfactory senses and that. But you'll notice as I tilt my head back, my head is tilted really far back before that wine makes contact, and I pick up beautiful, beautiful fruit. If I had the same wine, I'd like to pour it in this glass, this is a glass that kind of does the reverse. This is a glass that's going to shoot over that tip. The wine won't seem as fruity, but it's going to hit the sides of the tongue where you perceive acidity. And the wine, I notice, especially in the back where my tongue kind of hits the back of my mouth, my palate kind of draws back a little bit and much greater acidity. So once again, these are tools. It's not perfect, but I can tell you 99% of the time, most people will like Pinot far better in a Pinot glass than they would in a glass like this, and with Chardonnay, vice versa. So there are 2 glasses that I really go to. They're both Riedel, they're both Venom, and one of the keys is they're both crystal. So glass, one of the great differences, and we've talked about this a little bit earlier, is the aromatics in a wine. If you look at the inside of a glass vessel, doesn't matter what the shape is, the surface area is perfectly smooth. And so what that means is you swirl the wine in the glass, it's just kind of sloping on the inside. You get an increase in surface area. But one of the magic things of crystals, if you look at it under a microscope, there's all these little risers that come up. So as you swirl wine in the glass, it almost is like an eddy. There's like millions of eddy, like an eddy in a river where the water hits the sides and swirls. And what that does is it shoots air in there, and it even turbocharges the effect of the aromatics more. So when you go to smell it, you'll pick up more. When you go to taste it, you'll pick up more as well. But there's a whole world of glasses. And if you have any questions, we would love to kind of share our thoughts with you. If you'd like to come in the tasting room, one of the benefits of the Wine Club is that we offer these 2 glasses at our cost to Wine Club members. And it's something, once you've used a good wine glass, it's hard to go back. I always say it's like bread. Once you've had real bread, it's hard to go back to the basic stuff. Anyway, cheers into the genie in the bottle. Thanks for watching our videos, and if you have any other questions or topics you'd like to discover to do with wine, anything from wine service to vintages, vineyards, different areas of the world, not just limited to HillCrest, we'd love to share our experience with you, and feel free to get a hold of us on Facebook or on our website.